It is 5:15 p.m. here on Friday, 7th of January 2022 with the first video of the year. My name is Aaron Hunt, I'm a partner at the law firm Stace Hammond. As always, this is not immigration advice. This is just our commentary on immigration here in New Zealand. Looking for legal advice, get in contact with us directly. Now, we previously covered off the knowledge base 25066, which was within the immigration system, and it allowed for those of you who were granted a residence visa under the one-off residence visa category to enter New Zealand on that visa, whether it was granted onshore or offshore. Now, that hasn't changed, but it kind of has, and we're going to explain this in this video. Things that we learnt today. This afternoon we got in contact by somebody who told us about an issue that they've had. Now, there was a recent MIQ system change a couple of draws ago where you had to provide a visa that showed you had a right to enter the country to book MIQ. Now, that led to a number of people, hundreds of people being declined a right to book an MIQ spot because the system didn't really notice their visa. And that sort of brings us up to today, because what we knew of so far was that it was partners who weren't having the right to do it. There's an issue there, but it appears they're not the only ones being left out. Now, we received today a response that one applicant received from the Immigration Contact Centre. They were asking to travel back to New Zealand with the new one-off residence visa, but I'm going to clarify here. He was granted the visa onshore in New Zealand before he left the country. So this is not someone who was granted the visa offshore, someone who was granted the visa onshore. So there's no argument the residence visa is valid, it's static, it works, well, it should work. Now, I'm going to read out the email to you. Okay. Although holders of 2021 residence visas can travel to New Zealand right now, will generally meet immigration requirements, they cannot obtain a Managed Isolation Allocation System, MIAS, voucher because the system will not verify you. Although we are aware of the problem, we are not actively working on fixing it. It's entirely possible that the 2021 residence visa will not be added to the Managed Isolation System, MIS, verification application until after the borders reopen, when of course it will no longer be necessary. If you are unsatisfied, please consider making a complaint. I'm almost lost for words. They have stated that someone on this visa can enter New Zealand, which is correct. Residence visa can enter the country. They also know that their system won't allow for that. And they've said that they aren't updating to allow for it. So even though they say that someone on that visa can enter the country, they won't let them. And then saying that if someone's not satisfied, with having their legal rights denied, they can make a complaint. We've been critical of decisions made by the government and the Minister of Immigration at times. There's times where they've made decisions which we disagree with. We think that they could have been done better. They could have been done with a better focus on partners of citizens, residents, workers, on student visa holders, on people who we actually want to be in the country the long term, focusing on that rather than on DJs and entertainers. However, we really can't work out who decided that people who are granted visas and who have the right to enter New Zealand should have to wait for MBIU, who isn't bothering to update their systems, to fix a quite blatant issue. This is someone who was in New Zealand when the visa was granted and had every right to re-enter the country as a resident. He is a resident of this country. Now, this follows on from the MIQ systems, which of course now, as I said, required to have a visa to book a room. And we spoke to Immigration New Zealand this afternoon about what visas are being impacted by this. And there's 5 groups being impacted by this. Now, there's the partners of workers who have got a critical purpose border entry to come across the border to be with their partner. They're the ones who's hundreds of those, as far as we're aware, who have been denied a right to book MIQ despite having a visa to enter the country. There's the fee-paying student visa holders, for those who have managed to get one of those very rare border exceptions for a student. There's 1,000 of those recently being granted or being offered recently. They can't come in, or there's issues with them coming in under MIQ and being granted a voucher. Dependent children student visa holders, so dependent children of people who are here, who if you could be a nurse or a doctor and you're trying to bring your child in, they're having an issue booking this as well. If you've had a visa transferred to a new passport, so you've got a border exception, but you've got a new passport and you've transferred the visa, you're having an issue there, it seems. And of course, the 2021 residence visa holders who are not being able to get a voucher in the MIQ voucher system. Despite the message here being that they're not looking at fixing it, that does surprise me, and I'm aware this is going out in the media this evening, so we would hope this is going to be fixed very, very quickly, because it is a very bad look to say, yes, we're going to provide this residence visa to maintain people in this country, to have people wanting to stay in this country, but then to say, actually, yeah, you can't come back in, because even though you've had perhaps 2 years away from your partner, how do you go across and visit them after being granted a residence visa? It just, again, almost lost for words. We will look into this. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with this. Hopefully it will be fixed very, very shortly. I used to design software, big software systems, much bigger than the MIQ system, and I can't see how this is a hard thing to fix. It really is not a big thing to fix. If it's been developed correctly, this should not be a difficult thing to fix. We will keep an eye on this, and we'll come back to you with we hear more. I'm sure you'll see it in the media as well. Until then, kia kaha, and for those of you who are stuck offshore, stay safe, and hopefully we'll have you back on shore very, very shortly.